When I prepare couples for marriage, I ask them to do a little activity. They each get a sheet of paper and each write 5 things they view as absolutely essential to their marriage that they couldn't possibly imagine living without. It could be faith, family, communication, trust, physical intimacy, humor. I've even heard sports. But they write down those 5 things, and then they have to narrow it down to 4 and write on the back of that sheet why they can live without that one. And then they narrow it down to 3 and say why, to 2, to 1. Then we share what each other wrote and talk about it. And at the end, I ask, why do you think I had you do this little exercise? In this marriage prep exercise, couples give various reasons for why they think I asked them to do this. Some are more valid than others. They say, to see if we're compatible, to be vulnerable with each other, to show and communicate what really matters to us, to be able to work towards and protect what the other deems valuable, and several other reasons. And I say, yes, that's all very true. But that's not why I had us do this exercise. In this exercise, we went from 5 essential things in marriage to 4, to 3, to 2, to 1 last thing. But in marriage, when you say, I do, you say that even if all these things, even this last thing is taken away from me, I choose you and I love you no matter what. I love you holding nothing back, with no reservations. I love you unconditionally. I love you more than all of these things. Even though I don't know what will happen or who will even be, I love you. And that's absolutely beautiful. It's completely selfless, perfect love. The love that God calls us to. But it's also scary, because we're afraid of what might happen. And it feels like death, and that I'll have nothing left. But death, dying to ourselves, is what saves us and frees us to love. When Adam and Eve sinned against God, it was because they let their trust in God die, and they felt they had to protect themselves, and so tried to make themselves equal to God. So God's punishments are actually blessings because they remind us that we are not God. They correspond to the ways we're most like God, actually. To the woman who shares in God's ability to bring forth and nurture life, she suffers the pains of child labor. To the man who shares in God's work as creator, he has to toil and sweat and grow weary. But to men and women alike, we must both suffer and die, lest we live forever and think that we have no need of God. We have to die in order to die to ourselves and live for God. Our salvation comes through death, through the self-emptying death of Jesus Christ on the cross and his resurrection from the grave, but also our own death in our self-gift of our vocation, where we pour ourselves out in love, dying to ourselves, giving ourselves entirely in love, holding nothing back. A priest's sacrifice and self-death, and therefore his love, is no less than in marriage. Like the Good Shepherd, he lays down his life for his sheep. So ask God, am I called to be the Good Shepherd? Am I called to lay down my life, to die to myself, and become a priest of Jesus Christ?
I praise you, God, for I am wonderfully made. have in store for me.